This semester, the biggest aha and realization moment I had came from when we were talking about race and when we were talking about white privilege and when we were talking about the economic gap. Growing up in New York City, I thought I was exposed to so much. I grew up in one of the largest cities in the world, surrounded by people of all different backgrounds, religions, genders, cultures, all of it, like economic status, social status. I really thought I was exposed to so much growing up in such a large city. But going down south and meeting people from other countries, meeting people that grew up in the country that didn't necessarily grow up in a large city like I did, I realized that even though I was exposed to so much, I was also exposed to so little. I realized that white privilege is real. I didn't really realize it at the time because I never really had much experience with it, because even though I grew up in New York City, one of the largest cities in the world, this part of the city I grew up in was predominantly white and people like me who were also middle class. So I never really realized how much white privilege I had until I got to the South and until we were talking about it in class, and I realized, oh man, like all those tickets I got out of, all those speeding tickets I could have gotten that I never got because the cop knew my dad because my dad's a cop, or because I just got let off with a warning. Like, dang, I really was lucky for that. I also realized how lucky I was and how fortunate I am to have grown up in a middle-class household with parents that were able to provide for me whatever I needed, and I never had to worry about anything. How lucky am I is the biggest realization I had this semester. Another thing I realized was when Mr. Gregory came into class to talk about growing up trans in the South, I realized how difficult it must have, how lucky I was to have grown up in a loving household, parents that would have supported me for whatever I chose. If that was what I had made, the decision I had made, that they would have supported me no matter what, and how lucky I was for that love and support, and how I know a lot of people probably wish they could have that. I also realized how difficult it was for people who grew up trans or grew up on the LGBTQIA+ spectrum, how difficult it must have been for them. Because I never really realized that, because I didn't grow up with a lot of friends that were trans. I didn't grow up with a lot of friends that were LGBTQIA+. So I never really got to experience that or hear what it was like for someone who did go through that experience. And that was really eye-opening.